Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the safe and scripted show where the bad takes are entirely intentional. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, send that support. That's what we need. Okay. So Bob's doing this sort of protest thing over the emote changes coming to World of Warcraft.
My days of farting into people's faces is a childhood pastime.
Yeah, so we know that farting isn't going away. You just can't direct it on specific people, and we're getting new emotes. In fact, Bob's just trying his best to protest in his own way and demonstrate how any emote can be ruined with enough motivation. Okay, dude, I get it.
You might hate how I sound, but you love what I have to say.
I promised I'll get to that in a bit, and you can use the navigation thing below to jump around, but first I want to address the pink elephant missing from the room. What happened to Coffee with Soul? It's still a thing. In fact, it's gotten an upgrade with its own channel, with the show split off into segments that you can easily digest and take in and talk smack over. But I very much need your help by subscribing to that new channel. There's a link in the description and in the bubble thing somewhere on the corner of your screen that'll take you there. Just hit that subscribe button, double check that you're subscribed to this channel too, and you'll be good to go. This way we can mostly have the scripted content here while the crazy banter and the dad jokes and whatnot can be over there as an option. This is all for you guys and the algorithm, I guess. So I guess 98% for you folks. So if you can do me a solid, great. So let's get to the news, starting with the real elephant in the room, a lengthy post from the WoW team that's a follow-up from their early July message in response to the Blizzard lawsuit. In it, they mentioned making some immediate changes to the game to remove references that no longer reflect the values of the team, which was already controversial considering the who and what these references were based on. But over the past few weeks, we've been seeing changes here and there on the PTR that are a bit obscure, a little specific, and the speculation has been really wild. Well, the WoW team has finally responded to the headcanon with a dry and boring explanation that's being gamer-splained into the worst thing to ever happen in the game. Just as bad as using the term gamer-splained. I mean, it sounded good when I wrote it. But I'll summarize. They've acknowledged that a handful of quests, art assets, names, and dialogue have been changing to reflect today's values. The changes are a drop in the bucket compared to the frankly massive patch that's coming with 915, with Legion time walking, expansions to the rest of time walking, character customization, pulling the ripcord, uncapping most AoE abilities, and way too many quality of life changes that really should have been there in the first place, but here they come anyway, so kiss the ring, shut up, and be grateful and /groan. They wrote that the way that we as players express our characters is not going to change. The transmog that we've earned over the years will not be affected. In fact, we're going to see a new male version of the succubus model called an incubus peppered throughout the existing game along with a warlock glyph. It makes you wonder about what the opposite genders of these would look like, Anyway, many of the changes that have come and are probably still coming are the result of both external and internal feedback from the WoW team under a mandate of making a more inclusive and welcoming game world. This might not explain a seductive fruit painting, but it does put some context as to why there's an incoming male succubus model and the inclusion of both men and women as agents of the night. It also makes one think that if the WoW team had unlimited resources, they would probably have changed the twin consorts boss in the Throne of Thunder to both a male and a female, but changing the text is just way less work. So today I just want to talk about the eternal struggle of players versus developers and acknowledge the principle of making controversial changes even if they don't affect gameplay at all, or do they? And I want to make it clear that while I'm offering a bit of my perspective here, I'm not trying to push my opinion or knock down others. I just want to agree to disagree, but also listen to what you have to say because I'm kind of puzzled. We hear the outcry on social media that Blizzard has to change internally. They need to meet the demands of its workers and clean house, but at the same time, don't touch the lewd parts of the game. Leave the decade-old innuendo there. The game is fine. It's okay that there are a few assholes. Boys will be boys. It's just locker room talk. And the people crying over being spit on, they're just snowflakes who shouldn't spend their money on things they want because we told them so. You know, I think I escalated that just a smidge. Let's set aside the obvious. Even when looking at a recent Wowhead article detailing an incomplete list, these changes are minor, but I'm still baffled at the comments I'm seeing about Blizzard misprioritizing what they should be working on. After all, that $15 a month definitely makes me an investor and I have equal say. Anyone who's actually checked out the PTR or read the patch notes can see see that there is a lot happening in this patch that will greatly affect our gameplay experience, and yet this has suddenly been thrust into the front. And yes, I know that I'm party to it, but I've been pretty extensive in my patch coverage as well. In fact, it's gonna come after this segment. Some of you may have read about the NPC Master Bader having its name changed to Zhang Ziya, while 95% of you will not notice that the quest camel called Camel Toe is being changed to Camaraderie. Oh boy. But you will now, because there's a Wowhead article mentioning all this stuff. Before recently, you might not have seen these changes making the rounds on social media, making this an appropriate example of what Blizzard's doing here, even if you don't agree. Blizzard seems to be fine with the puns and what they call mature innuendos, but in their efforts to make their content seem more welcoming, it looks like they intend to end the practice of putting the two ideas together. Sexual puns? Nah. It's not so much desexing or censorship, but more like making the sex scene gender neutral or repopulating with equivalents. The upcoming Incubus model is coming, and models are being changed to obviously portray the desires for male flesh. I mean, that's like a buff to sexualizing WoW. Meanwhile, references like Camel Toe, Master Bader, like, okay, they were funny for their time, like, I get that, ha ha ha, and I'm just speaking for me, but if the 2021 version of me ran into this for the first time, I'd be like, OMG, a sex joke, that is so edgy and clever. Changing Camel Toe to Camaraderie, it's a fun, dorky little pun that still leaves me with a deadpan face just without the controversy. Changing Master Bader into Zhang Ziya actually took a little bit more research. This name is based on a person from an old Chinese proverb that with the right technique you can catch a fish without bait. It sounds deep until you remember you're buying supplies from a walking, talking panda. I'd like to think that these changes mean almost nothing. It's kind of like getting a penis-shaped floor rug that raised a few eyebrows and replacing it with a regular one that frequent visitors might notice and comment on one time, while others would never even know that it was a thing. The meat of the controversy, in my observation, comes from the changing, the removal, and the addition of emotes. I'll just put up a list of what's going on with what and start talking. I've mentioned many times that I don't want Blizzard to mess with how players express themselves, and I've stuck with the context of transmogrification. If I want to portray myself like this, I should do so, and it doesn't hurt anyone emotionally, it just maybe leaves a stain in their eyeballs. So I should be okay with emotes. I mean, they're just words predefined by the game. In their most recent statement, Blizzard said that they don't want to nerf player expression, but they are changing emotes, so I should be mad that they lied, that they are messing with our ability to express ourselves. But this might be a bit different. Like, we've seen that the internet is more than capable of taking something like an emote and weaponizing it to the point where its use, no matter the context, is warped into something derogatory, and regardless of how you want to use it, it's going to send a certain message. In World of Warcraft, it started with /spit, with its use being famously encouraged by Asmongold to protest against store-bought mounts. Because using weak emotes like /no or /pity doesn't deliver as strong of a message as virtual body fluids being flung into a person's body. The usage and the reactions to it eventually redefined the meaning of the emote, making it seem even more aggressive than it already was. The move to change it was first, but it was reactive, while the other emote nerfs that are coming appear proactive. It's kind of like an effort to do away with emotes that are directed specifically to a target, which I can't really say is good or bad because we haven't crossed that bridge yet, so it's a little bit unfair. However, this behavior is not limited to the World of Warcraft either. Numerous emotes over on Twitch have been switched around by admins or banned by streamers altogether after being weaponized as tools of racism or otherwise toxic behavior. We can blame the snowflakes who are so easily offended by these emotes, or blame the snowflakes who are so easily offended by the change of these emotes, and we're not going to get anywhere with that. Some would argue that all it takes is a bit of motivation and the right people to take the unaffected or even the 4 new emotes coming in this patch and turn them into something toxic. It makes the situation seem hopeless, except for the fact that if nothing else, we can say that these game studios and companies see what's going on and are at least trying to do something. This is where we're at though, and now I want to turn it over to you folks. Like, do you think that these changes are going to do anything? Is it just the story that's bigger than the actual change, or should we be fearful for the future? But now let's get to some lighter topics, tangible gameplay related changes and additions that were added to this week's 915 build that will actually change our player behavior in ways big and, well, not so big. The ultimate battle training stone is going to be way cheaper, from 60 of those pet charms down to 35, which seems pretty insane. Like, that means on just one character, I can get a handful of these pet charms between the dailies and world quests and the mission table each day. It makes the notion of leveling pets seem almost obsolete. It diminishes such as the effect of Super Squirt Day. And I'm talking as if this is such a bad thing, because I've noticed more and more that it's easy to get repeats of pets from Paragon boxes and raid bosses and more. So this change puts a bit of value into these excess pets because we can pump them full of levels and send them on their way without having to wait for a holiday. Many resources like ore and cloth are having their drop rates increased, maybe as a response to the higher demand for legendary base pieces or to entice players to rank up the skill to make said legendary base pieces. This is a weird one. Like, you know, I'm a fan of celebrating players' early efforts at being the most skilled crafters, even if that comes at the cost, the long-term cost of other players who will struggle to score a profit in the future. Apparently the game disagrees with me, and now I'm gonna feel compelled to max out all the crafting recipes. In today's episode of add-ons that WoW put into the game, there's a pretty fun social addition that's coming that I think is a low-key hit, and that's the ability to link your entire transmog profile to chat, so people know just how much gold you spent on that slutmog, you sexy beast, you. When you look at your dressing room, you can see this link outfit button that you can use to post your transmog profile to chat. These links open up the target's profile, and now you can look at the pieces being used to complete this set. You can take these strings and post them outside of the game too, so we're going to be seeing websites and social media providing these strings for some really easy sharing. It seems pretty cool. I mentioned this a number of times now, but the Anima Conductor is getting a really nice buff that lets you activate available nodes simultaneously instead of just once per day. The one-day cooldown still exists, but it makes reinforcing these points a heck of a lot faster, and it gives your Anima something to do. Let's expand on this thought though. Enabling multiple high-level conductors on a single character and switching between covenants makes for a lot of possible work that one character can do for the sake of unlocking appearances, or if you're just good with swinging 4 ways, that's sexual innuendo. I feel as if the WoW team basically evergreened the Covenant Sanctum at this point, because there are very few barriers that stop us from getting to know all the Covenants really well, not just quickly, but at the pace of our choosing. I think it's about time to wrap up the show for today, and I don't know about you, but this week has been pretty busy. I mean, okay, to be fair, a lot of the week was spent on New World, chopping down giant trees and laughing when they fall over. I think it's important to point out that there is no good comparison to New World to the likes of World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. This is a fundamentally different game with a completely different playstyle, but with that said, I do have a piece ready to go next week where I break down certain components of the game and apply that to what I would like to see in the World of Warcraft. I think it'll be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. As for streaming New World, it'll probably be something that I continue to do off and on, but even though I'm in the level 20s or so, I feel like the honeymoon phase is over already, and I'm getting more out of gathering stuff than I am from actually fighting and killing things. It almost makes me wonder if I should be playing different games altogether, like Stardew Valley or No Man's Sky, but you know what? I'd actually like to hear some of your recommendations. What are some immersive world types of games that you'd like to see me play? And even if you're not interested in watching me play games of this type, what kinds of games are you playing? Chime in on that or anything else today in a comment below. And of course, let's give a warm thanks to the folks on Twitch. You guys did your best during September, and I really, really appreciate it. Lots of love to the patrons, including Kraken Latte, you beast. Thanks so much for joining the Patreon family, and to all of you for making it to the end. Let's keep making this a fun place to share our opinions and have a conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and to Coffee with Soul, and because I'd love the help, and we'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.